Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and we have some very interesting scales that we are going to install on two knives that I have. One being the TRM Neutron 2 and the NAF Lander 2. And the scales, I've never seen anything like this. I think this is amazing. These are elephant leather scales. And like I said, I have two different versions. Not only the pattern and the skin itself is very different, but also the colors and obviously the knife mouths. Now, this company, it's Designer Grips and Scales is the company where these come from. I think these are the only two models they're doing right at the moment, but I'm sure they will be continuing to do more and more models as time goes on. Fascinating scales. These are ethically sourced, by the way, which obviously you're going to expect. And right off the bat, one thing I will say, it smells identical. Like literally, if you want to know what these smell like, which I know this isn't necessarily a good thing, but it smells like a zoo. So everybody knows the smell when you walk into a zoo. It smells like hay and shit. And that's what it smells like. So I'm guessing the smell you smell at zoos is mostly coming from the elephants because this is identical. Now, I don't mind that at all. It's not like I can smell it at a distance. It's only if I put it up to my face, which I'm sure that might eventually go away over time. But let's take a closer look at these and install them and see how they actually work as scales, because hypothetically, these could potentially be extremely, extremely good scales. I have always wondered, by the way, why have we not made a leather scales or leather micarta or whatever? But here we are. You can find these trays on the Neeves Knife Co site. This is solid aluminum made in the USA. No, they are not cheap, but they are 100% made in the USA. They have magnetic bit holders. And then you got a stem for two different drivers. Then you got spots for KPL and your Loctite. So let's start with, we're going to start with the TRM. That's right. Here's a piece. Okay, well, finally got this one. I did have to cut back the spot for the clip to set in, which I did have to make it a little wide in order for it to fit so you can kind of see it. Let me put these other scales on and then we will talk about what I think about these. Shout out to the homie Ray from Everyday City Carry. If it wasn't for him, I might not have these on the channel because I did see these on his channel first. You can find him on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Both of these knives are best case scenario when changing scales on any knife. They're super easy, much easier than most knives if you're going to change scales. So starting with the Lander 2, beautiful pattern on, you know, from the elephant skin. Now these are not like full grain. I did research and look up some full grain elephant leather. It's very thick. So in order for it to even fit this, you know, they have to shave it down like they do with a lot of other leathers for boots and stuff like that. Now, this does make it a little bit thicker. Not by a lot, but enough where I can feel there's a difference in the access I have to the crossbar lock. It's still easy to get. They still do protrude ever so slightly. And then the thumb studs are a little bit closer because it's a little thicker this direction and this direction. I'll tell you what though, super comfortable. This is very, very comfortable. I do really, really like these. This feels even better than my Carta, and because of the texture, like it feels like no matter if it got wet or anything, it's going to be grippy. Now, these are leathered over, I think, G10, I believe. It might be a 3D print, but I believe it's G10. So, just know the insides are G10, so it does have some stability. So I'm having one other issue I just realized with this one. I cannot get it all the way tight. It shifts. I do have it, and it wasn't like that before with the micarta scales. It was solid, but I have cranked these down as tight as you possibly can make them. If I go any further, I will strip them out, so I'm not going to, and it still has a significant amount of side to side. You can actually see it. So, again, that's why they send these things to reviewers for, for these criticisms so that they can see where they need to adjust. So, we'll, I'm sure he'll figure out a way to mitigate that or to, get rid of that. This one's solid, rock solid. So no problems there, man. I actually kind of like it even more because these were very slippery. These are just, yeah, I just feel like I have a lot more control over it. Now with this one, I have one issue, well, two issues, I guess. The one issue you've seen in the thing where I had to inset the clip, and you can see where I had to cut it a little bit large because it just would not set in. And, I finally got it in. One side went, but the other side wouldn't. I can probably manipulate this a little bit so it still looks good by pressing those fibers in and whatnot, but not that big of a deal to me. But that is something that, hopefully, from the factory, he can start cutting that out so that it fits perfectly. But other than that, my one issue is, and it's not that big of a deal, but it is to me because it's my biggest pet peeve, and that's the lock bar access is not as good as it was. I already wished that the lock bar access was a little bit better on this one. It's okay, but I think it could be great if it was cut back even more. Now I have even less, and it just feels a little tight for me. I would prefer to make them better than the titanium ones by cutting back the access even further. Like, give me a ton of access. It is a washer knife. I think it would just be much, much better like that. Now, don't get me wrong, the thwack is still really nice. It's very, very comfortable. I've always felt the clip in my hand, so it's not a big deal, but I do feel it. I do worry that my clip screws are hanging on by very little thread, because they only felt like they got like a couple threads in to tighten, but they are tight though. So whatever. It should be fine. Thumb studs are easy to get to still, even though it is a little bit wider now, right? Not by much. So I like that it increases the width or thickness, but not enough to really affect the carry or anything, but just enough to make it even more ergonomic. And then, I still can easily get the reverse flick and thumb flick. Love these knives. Both of these knives are great. And, I like that he does the different colors. I love that we have different textures. I'm not sure if this is two different types of elephants or parts of the body. I don't know. I'm not 100%. By the way, the clips are nice and smooth, even on the leather. So that's really cool. That was one thing I was kind of wondering, like, how is a clip going to work on top of this type of material? But it works great. At least these type of deep carry ones do. As far as the texture goes, this one feels a bit more, it's softer, but in like, I'm trying to think of the material, almost like a foamy kind of way, like a foam that's got a little bit of give, but also very firm. It's kind of hard to explain. This one is a little bit grippier, obviously, but it's also not grippy. They're both smooth. Like, you can easily, rub your finger back and forth without it, like catching. This does not feel rough at all, but it looks rough. It looks a lot rougher than it is. It's absolutely not rough at all. And, it does have a really nice texture, almost a rubber-like feel to some extent. And I do really, really like them. I've always been a fan of, you know, of natural materials. But this one, for some reason, like I said, this one feels like rubber. This one feels a little bit more like a foam. It's hard to explain without actually touching it. But it also does have a leather feel. So this one probably feels more like regular cow leather, while this one feels a little bit more like a rubbery leather. But I will say, man, I like them both, and I'm struggling to say which version I like more between this texture. This texture probably looks cooler, but I don't know, man. I like them both. Yeah, I'm liking them. I'm liking them a lot. A couple little nitpicks, of course. So hopefully maybe, you know, he can, you know, work that out somehow, or, you know, maybe, I just like anything, you know, over time, you know, as people, you know, he did send them for this reason. So now, you know, he can adjust things, right? That's the beauty with sending things out to content creators. And that's why I advocate it for especially new companies, but any company, because you're going to get honest feedback typically. You know, obviously send it to somebody who you actually think is going to give you honest feedback, or at least encourage it from them, so that, you know, you can actually find out little details that are just going to improve your stuff. And the people, when they see that, the people tend to want to do business with you, because they tend to believe that you're a business that actually cares about your final product and the experience of the buyer or user. You know, it's when it seems like they ignore everything and try to avoid it at all costs, you know, anybody critiquing their work, you know, so that they have to adjust anything. Anyways, I'm very happy with them. So shout out to him. And, you know, if you want to pick some up, you can reach him on Instagram. And hopefully, you know, I will have, you know, maybe some more of these. Maybe he'll be doing some new models soon. And, you know, I'll be showing them off quite a bit. So there you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Till next time. Peace.